Welcome to Home's Room. Just like homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin.
Hello, back again with an episode, and the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, I don't know, the schedule's all thrown off in my head. We've dealt with technical difficulties, so I'm hoping and crossing my fingers for no technical difficulties this time. I don't know about you, Kaitlin, but that's where I'm at.
Is what it is, homie. We are still here, serving up difficult conversations and fun topics, regardless as to whether one of our audio works or the camera is not working or whatever. Riverside, shameless plug. Riverside FM is a great platform.
Yes, it is.
As we're, still staying here at episode whatever the hell, Matt and I have never met face to face yet. Coming soon, I promise you. But Matt and I have never met face to face, but we have this awesome tool, which is Riverside FM, to be able to sit down and record and hang out as homies an hour a week, depending on the schedule. I love the platform. I love that we can interview guests and send them a link and they can just join into the interview, whatever. Shameless plug, maybe not. But here we are, homie. How are you doing this week?
I'm good. You just made me think of something though. I do love using Riverside. I think that there's a lot of benefit to it, especially over Zoom, because I've done Zoom and Zoom's annoying. But what you made me think of is I continuously tell everybody that listens, I'm never going to put a guest in front of you that is just here to hawk something, or a guest that just seems wrong for some reason or the other. And one of the things that I do is I send them a link to schedule when they are available to record. And, that's should be pretty standard. I don't like when guests send me their link to schedule them on that. It just becomes convoluted. But also, if you have certain stipulations in your scheduling thing, make those readily accessible to see what those things are. But also it becomes really, really weird when you're responding and conversating weirdly, and I say conversating knowing it's not a word on purpose, through Instagram DMs or something like that just makes it really awkward in the first place. But also when it's I gotta wait 6 days for your reply, or it just makes it, I don't know, it's at that point, is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't really know. And the fact that I keep running into that, and I can publicly apologize to you. And I don't know if you saw on Matchmaker, they sent out an email telling people, hey, put this in your profile if that's what it is, because we kept getting emails saying, hey, I'd love to get you as a guest, or I'd love to be a guest, but we charge you to do that. And that's actually illegal to do.
$50 for an editing fee, Matt.
Yeah, that's
we
illegal
we will happily platform you and your message and your book or whatever you're trying to go on and promote. But you also have a $40 to $50 editing fee that you're supposed to pay to be able to be on our podcast.
Yeah. So it's just so stupid. Dealing with a lot of that stuff behind the scenes is really funny to me, but also it's just the monotonous part of podcasting to me. It doesn't I don't know, it doesn't bug me as much as it probably bugs some people. That thing in particular though, where it's hey, do you want to be a guest? Simple yes or no. I send you a link, you schedule for me. If I'm coming on your show or it's something weird, I'm glad to do a hey, can you fill this out for me and I'll fill this out for you, just so we keep, everybody stays even. But I don't want to have to then bounce back and forth. And then if it's an episode I want you on, like, it's just, there's too many cooks in the kitchen for that. So it's like, nah, man, like we have 2 separate links that we use. So like when it's an episode that like, I'm going to try really hard to get you on, I will send that link. When it's an episode where the guest, their obligations make it harder to like put them in the box that like our schedule reflects, it's like, okay, I'm going to give them more freedom. And sorry, battling one of those fun kid brought home a sickness thing. But yeah, just be normal, people.
I was home with a child for the same exact reason and took her to the doctor's today. And fun fact, she has an ear infection. And also there's some kind of weird respiratory stomach virus going around that our pediatrician had no solid answer of what it is or, where we're at or any. She said, COVID numbers are low. The nurse, the sweet nurse came in and said, we'll get your 2.5-year-old's weight. We'll do all these things. And also I'm going to give you a face mask for your daughter because she's coming in here sick. And I was like, do you want me to put a face mask on my 2.5-year-old? Yeah, absolutely. No, it's totally fine. If you could believe it, Matt, she did not want to do that.
Fair. No, yeah. So one of my kids brought home a sore throat thing. So it's like this just constant like dry spot at the very top of my, like the back of my mouth where like no fluid reaches. So it's just like randomly lock up everything in the top of my throat. I can't talk. And that's terrible. Like who wants that? Especially when you talk on a podcast for, a hobby or whatever you want to call this. So there's that. Anyway, moving on, we have an interesting topic for today. And we've talked about it. We have a Google Doc, and one of the ideas pitched by the lovely Kaitlin was online dating. And I was like, when I last dated, MySpace was still a thing. So I don't have any of the insights to online dating. So we'll see how this episode goes. But before that, you want to talk about some stuff. So some stuff is being talked about. What you got?
I, as a general practice, homies here at the Holmes Room podcast, that Matt and I and all of you, we love to just randomly check in and see where you are at, where you're at with your mental health in general. I specifically asked Matt for this to be a general check-in because I have a new form of therapy that I am excited to potentially talk about, whatever. But even in general, Matt and I, before he starts hitting record, before we start listening to our awesome theme song, we have a general kind of like catch up and just like, hey, homie, how you doing? Whatever. But I feel really convicted to continue to have these like mental health check-ins and be a, display of like what supporting homies kind of look like in general. So, how are you doing mental health wise, Matt?
I don't know. I'm good, I guess. I don't know. I hadn't put much thought into it. I didn't know you were going to ask me. I thought you were going to check. I thought it was a check-in for you.
It's a mental health check-in between homies, Matt. What the hell?
I don't think your text message said between us both. So I thought it was like a for you thing. I don't know.
How is your anxiety? Are you feeling okay? Are you feeling secure in yourself as a person? Like, where are you at?
I thought we went through that last week. I'm usually okay with myself as a person, no matter the circumstance. And anxiety, as far as that goes, I don't know. It's like a 2 right now. I don't have much going on, so like I got my favorite text message I can get, and that's, "Hey, are you playing summer season? Because we're getting ready to get the roster ready." So like that's good. Hockey sticks are loaded and ready to go.
So are you playing summer season, homie?
100%. That was always the plan. It wasn't like there was a question about that. I can't play winter because the girls have school and the games are late. So in the summer, I don't care. You can stay up late at a cold rink if we decide to take you, or you can go to somebody's house and spend the night, and we will pick you up tomorrow. It does not matter to me. And during school, I respect the fact that you need to go to bed at a decent hour, and I'm going to let you. But you know, I mean, I don't got. There's not really much going on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like. This is one of those weird times where everything that I have going on is all small potatoes, so it's not like anything, I don't know, anything pressing. So there's
which is still totally acceptable. Here's the thing too, though, is what I'm part of what I'm trying to normalize is asking this question. Is I used to have a group chat with two of my very close friends where randomly we would just text each other like, hey, mental health check-in, what's going on? But all of that was met with like the context of, you know, years of understanding where the other person has like struggled in the past, things that they have like gone to therapy about, whatever. Whatever. All of this to say that I wanted Matt to make this a topic of conversation because I have a new form of therapy that I wanted to talk about. And it is summarized.
You see how I got the hint that it was a conversation for her, not me? See how that goes? Anyway, continue.
But I still wanted to turn around and like check in and like see how you were doing too, Matt. Come on. So, I straight up Homes Room Homies. I have been in therapy twice a week for the last month. I am exhausted. I am tired. I told my therapist last week, I have cried more in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 13 years combined. And she was like, good, Kaitlin, that's me. That means that the therapy's working. And I'm like, well, no wonder that not feeling my emotions was a survival mechanism because this is exhausting and I hate it. So, quick summary. I am in a new form of therapy. I have done cognitive behavioral therapy, which identifies, you know, problematic ways or patterns of thinking where, you know, you're drawing conclusions based on falsities. You're drawing conclusions based on like all or nothing thinking or like black and white thinking or other super problematic things of like 2 + 2 = 5 because 5 is past ways of trauma, past trauma pathways that your brain has laid out, whatever. I am in a new form of therapy. First and foremost, homies, having rapport with your therapist is something that you cannot put a dollar amount to. I have proudly told my therapist for the last several weeks, I'm like, listen, bitch, if we go to a Mexican restaurant and have the same conversation over margaritas, I would proudly pay double the amount for my hourly sessions because I just adore you that much. So having that type of rapport and relationship with your therapist is huge. And if you don't have that, find a different therapist. Easier said than done, especially when we're having larger conversations about post-capitalist society and health insurance and everything that falls into that conversation. But my therapist that I'm in now has me in a framework of therapy that is outlined by calling it internal family systems therapy. And I don't want to get too caught up in the definition or too caught up. That is as in the weeds for that part of the conversation I want to get into. I literally only ask Matt for me to be able to bring internal family systems up because too long, didn't read, TLDR, or bottom line up front. I have felt very lost in this season of my life where I'm like, I don't really know who I am too much anymore. I am equating, parts of my personality that are there as like a problem solver versus the actual trauma part of my personality that it's there to serve, whatever. So, internal family systems therapy. Take a step back. I am here. I am self. Self is a huge circle. Inside of self are different parts of my personality in different bubbles that are trauma self, or like parts of trauma in my past, that are protectors, which is, hey, your level of perfectionism and your self-critic, and your firefighters, which are whatever. It is not only identifying the parts of your personality or the parts of yourself that you struggle with, but it is personifying those parts of yourself and sitting them at a conference table all together, where you as self are sitting at the head of the table and saying, hey, perfectionism, I see you, I hear you, I've had a full conversation with you, I understand why you are here, I understand when you were founded, I understand what part of myself or past version of myself that you are trying to protect. However, you do not have to be sitting on a lounger on top of the conference table. You can also take a seat back and just have a regular seat at the conference table and be part of the larger group conversation of all these different parts of personality. So all of this to say that putting in the work to identify all these different parts of my personality that I didn't necessarily know straight off. First and foremost, it's, therapist asks a question, you sit there, you take a deep breath, and it's emotion led. As somebody who has been extremely calloused and very cut off from my emotions, to be able to trust my gut, trust my intuition, and trust my emotions and be able to follow that breadcrumb to, hey, your inner critic, she's a bad bitch. She's only friendly when you're both drinking Stella together. Then you have larger conversations of, hey, critic, why are you here? What do you need from me? What ways can I show up for you? Is just a whole new level of conversation, a level of emotional led intellectual conversation of, these, I promise you, Matt, these would not be breadcrumbs that were picked up on or topics of conversation that would be followed up on if I had not pursued this type of therapy or tried to develop this relationship with this therapist. So, I've tried cognitive behavioral therapy. I reached out to this therapist that I'm at right now because I wanted to try EMDR, which is like the light post where you like activate both sides of your brain to be able to correctly file the trauma memories that are just kind of lost in the sauce in your brain. But part of pursuing EMDR led to me personifying these different stages or chapters or parts of my personality that have been so completely foreign to me. And I'm so thankful to you, Matt, that you even want to entertain this topic of conversation, only because it is completely emotion led. Like, my therapist will ask me a question and she's like, where do you feel that response? And I'm like, oh, it's in my chest. And this is the emotion I feel with it. And it's, leaning into that emotion and cutting back some of these layers of bullshit or like shielding that you have you have put up for many years. So, internal family systems therapy, please, if it's something that you are interested in, please see somebody who is like certified and like went to college for it or whatever. But I as somebody, we're in over a year now of episodes that we have recorded together. We've had several open conversations about being vulnerable with therapy and all these other things. I wanted to at least have part of this be an episode, or this part of be the conversation of this episode, because it's been really enlightening, as exhausting as it has been, Matt.
Good. I'm glad that you are getting something out of it, because that's honestly why you're spending the money. So good on you and good on them. And I hope that your journey continues to be a fruitful one, because yeah, that's, like I said, that's why you're spending the money. So good job. Keep it up. I think that, that's a PSA for anybody that is trying to figure their shit out. There's different ways to do that. You just got to start picking one. In the episode that dropped today, we talked kind of about it in our timeline, and that's the one with Kristen, with Dr. Kristen Wild. We talk about how taking that first step is the hard part. Every day after that is the easy day, because the hardest day is deciding you're going to actually do it and actually doing the thing. And then every day after that, it's just a normal day now. But yeah, I don't know. So if you are out there and you're wondering what I should do or how I should handle this, or I'm dealing with whatever, talk to a friend if you got a friend, and find a support system so you can get your confidence up, and go find a licensed person to help you the rest of your journey, if that's what it is required.
There are all types of therapy that are out there to fit whatever issue you are dealing with. And just because, one thing that I really was passionate about too was that, like, I had a couple friends that tried this one type of therapy, and I maybe didn't like vibe with it as deep as they did, and I had to like continually try to find a different type. Keep searching until you find something that fits where you're at and meets you where you're at, homies.
Well said. So online dating, on that note, what you got? Why did this topic strike your fancy?
Okay, first and foremost, online dating. This is something that struck my personal interest, because not only am I looking at internet dating right now as somebody who is turning 30 in June, as also somebody who has holla. I have met my husband, last weekend was 10 years since we met, and we'll be married 3 years in September. So we've been together for quite a while. But I have had a couple like TikToks and Instagram reels that have fallen on my algorithm that I've been like, holy effing hell. These are things that I can absolutely not relate to. It might be a little bit of a, easy home run if, you and Court have been together for longer than my husband and I have been. Whatever. You guys met at a movie theater. You guys have been together for a while. I don't know what your social media algorithms are showing you. But I wanted to talk about this because my husband and I have had several like TikToks and Instagram reels come across our algorithms where we're like, I literally do not know how I would respond in this situation. But yeah, you and Court did not meet in any way, shape, or form that was like based on like apps or online dating or anything, right?
We worked together. So she walked in, I helped train her on something, and then from then that point forward, we were coworkers until we weren't. So
yep. Yeah. Okay.
I have never met a single like person besides you on anything like app related. So
besides you, what's up, homie? It's fine.
It's the truth. The closest thing to a relationship that I've ever formed just solely off of internet activity is would be you. So
well, what up, homies? Here we are. So I have had lately, especially in the last like 2 weeks or so on my TikTok algorithm, I've had videos of women that have shown up and been like, all right, well, first and foremost, I have had text conversations with these gentlemen that I want to meet up for a first date with. And, week up until the actual first date, they have like a set restaurant, they have a set time, they have a set date where they're meeting up to. These women go out of their way to make a TikTok because they're like, okay, well, 2 days up until the date, we have, extended text message conversation, whatever, complete radio silence, 12 hours up until. Like, we have already had the conversation of like, we are meeting Tuesday night at this bar and grill in our local area. And this is Tuesday night. We are meeting. We're having a conversation about this Sunday or Monday morning. And then I will have this TikTok video of this, typically a female, who's like, they didn't send me a text at all in the last 12 hours up until this date. Sunday night, we had actual, plans on paper. We knew exactly where we were going to meet up at. We knew exactly what restaurant we were going to meet up at. We had reservations, this, that, whatever. But after this certain point in time, specifically like a Sunday night into a Monday, when all of us are typically working our 40-hour-a-week jobs, they don't say anything until like 1.5 to 2 hours before we're actually supposed to meet up at this location. And they're like, hey, can't wait to, hang out with you. And that's the first time that you've heard from this person in the last 12 hours. And typically the conversation on TikTok, at least that I've seen, where it turns into, well, if they didn't want to continue the conversation with you, from Sunday night into the 12 hours, into the 24 hours before this like set date where you already had an understanding of where you were supposed to meet, when you were supposed to meet, and, set expectations about what this first date was supposed to be like. If you don't hear from them, 10 hours before or 12 hours before this actual date's supposed to happen, cut it off. Send them a, shitty text message of, you're not showing enough interest in me, or this doesn't seem like a priority for you. So, best of luck dating in the future, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to stay home and you can do whatever you want with your Monday night. That is specifically a topic of conversation why I wanted to have this, because I'm like, listen, I don't care if it's 24, 48 hours, whatever. If you have an agreed upon conversation of where you're supposed to meet and you're expecting this person that's supposed to court you to have like filler conversation, especially on a Monday when you're both busy working at your 9 to 5, 9 times out of 10, I've seen TikToks from this like female perspective of like, oh, well, you acted so interested in me on Sunday, and then 12 hours before this date, you couldn't send me a whatever. I can't, I don't understand. I don't subscribe to that. I'm confused by that, Matt, because I feel thankful that my husband and I were set into like patterns of communication where both of us were working every day when we had this, initial conversation about like expectations of this relationship or like where we wanted things to end up or whatever. But also for what I don't understand about stereotypically the female, 99% of my TikTok algorithm, you have a concrete conversation on Sunday about where you're supposed to meet and when. Period. End of sentence. You have plans. That is something that you are booking out on your fucking calendar. Okay? But then you don't hear from them for bullshit filler conversation for the entire day on Monday. And then all of a sudden you're offended by that. And now you're calling into question the entire integrity of the relationship of somebody that you're matching with online. And you're like, oh, well, you didn't go out of your way to make me feel wanted for the last 10 hours after we've already had set concrete conversation about where we're meeting when on a Monday evening. I don't understand it. And it's 90% of all online dating TikToks or Instagram reels that I've seen specific, this might be a little bit niche, Matt, but this is where my For You page or like my Explore page, that's what it's showing me. And I'm so confused.
Yeah. I don't know. I can see that both ways, I guess. I think that that's a standard that was set in, you use the word courting, in the time where you would actually use the phrase courting. But I think that what you end up having is this weird situation of we're supposed to talk all the time, even before this date, and now we have the access to do it easily. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I would probably say, like, I would, as a person, be like, hey, I'm looking forward to tonight when I had a free second. So, like, I could also understand, like, to me, it just seems commonplace to just be like, hey, like, looking forward to tonight. And I still do that when talking to Courtney about plans we have, if we have them, or like if it's that big of a deal. So like I can understand how you should do that, or you would come to expect it. But also, if you have concrete plans, why can't you be like, hey, I'm just confirming that we're still on for tonight, just to throw out a feeler, rather than being like, fuck you, you didn't talk to me, I'm out. Like, that seems like an extreme to jump to. And if you're willing to jump to that extreme, it's a little pot calling the kettle black, in the fact that, like, you're also not super serious about it if you're willing to just throw it away on a whim because they didn't text you. Like, that's so it's a whole lot of, like, weight put on a text message, in my opinion. I don't know.
Which I also come from the understanding of, like, when you're starting to initiate a pattern of communication with a new partner, or, meet somebody online and, come with standard expectations of like how often you're supposed to be hearing from them, or like text message from them or whatever. That sets you up for what your pattern of communication is going to look like in that entire relationship moving forward. So I will also own that maybe I'm a little bit biased because the summer that my husband and I started to like fall into like regular daily points of conversation, it was when, you know, he was here in Missouri and I was down in Tampa, Florida on a Christian project where we would go out on the beach and evangelize every Wednesday to random strangers and approach them and ask them if they knew Jesus. Another point of conversation for maybe another episode. I have fully healed from those. I have deconstructed from those deep wounds. But all this to say that I was, you know, our first foundational understanding of a relationship together was he was in Missouri and I was in Tampa, Florida. And, you know, we had set communication practices where like we were both very busy doing our own thing during the day. And at the end of the day, he would FaceTime me while he was like making dinner, and we could still exist outside of each other and then come together at the end of the day and, you know, share about our day and all those other things. In hindsight, especially with, you know, last weekend was 10 years since my husband and I met each other for the first time. Us having that summer of learning how to exist outside of each other and set us up for healthy patterns of communication where, you know, we were in college, our relationship did not look too much like others that were our like same age or like year in college. We looked a little bit abnormal, but we were also still people that could, you know, venture out into the world for a full 24-hour period and then come together at the end of the day and like debrief outside of that. Like we didn't have to constantly be in contact. We didn't have to constantly be up each other's asses, for lack of a better term. So I wanted to have a larger conversation about online dating because it's something where I see women specifically that are younger than me falling into this trap of like, I have to fit myself into these confines or like these specific definitions of how this random man that I don't really know super well expects me to respond to him. Like he wants me to respond to him within a certain 12-hour period, or like we have to constantly be talking about what we're doing, or we have to constantly be in contact with one another. I honestly, in college, I anticipated that was going to be the type of relationship that I was going to be in, where constant communication from point A to point B was going to be what stuck. Joke's on all of us, especially me, bitch, when I got into this pattern of communication where I went at least 12 hours plus of radio silence with this random boy, which fast forward 10 years, Matt, he's now father of my 2 children.
Yeah.
He's downstairs sleeping on the couch, waiting for us to be done recording so he can come up and hang out with me up here. But you know, I wanted for so long, especially in the context of online dating, I really felt like I had to alter my definition of self, or my I had to minimize myself or my personality to be able to fit into these other people's profiles or these other people's expectations of what they were looking for. And then joke's on me, because what I ended up finding is what stuck, and it was nothing like what I thought I was looking for in the first place.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on 10 years. That's awesome. I don't think that people give enough credit to a younger generation making it that far, and people put way too much emphasis on marriage now. And I think that part of why relationships for younger people don't get celebrated as much because they're not married, but they realize that I don't have to be married to like love this person. So that's good. I don't know. I think the whole online dating process, like I said, I don't have a dog in that fight and I've never had to like deal with it. So I talk to people and I only ever hear horror stories about online dating. I never hear anything good. So my opinion on it is probably pretty jaded, but not because like I have experience, but because it's like, good reviews don't happen very often. Like I talked to a lady the other day who was like, I met my husband and they've been together like dating and married as long as me and Courtney have. So like it's pretty interesting to have had them meet the way they did, because she said he sent a message on MySpace and they started talking, and she asked him later on like, why did you start talking to me? He's like, honestly, I just thought you were hot. So it's like I like that's what it used to be. And now it's swipe left or right on these things, and so much more superficial, but also putting so much unrealistic expectation on a stranger you have not met based off of a profile picture, or like whatever it is, like 375 characters kind of thing. Like that's, I don't know, you're putting a lot of pressure on that. And if the text message conversation after that, like it's a two-way fucking street. So get off your high horse and get your, Twitter thumbs out and figure it out. I don't know.
No, I love. So also another fun thing that I have, explored in this digital age of dating and marriages or whatever. I have at least 4 to 5 people my age that I know that are now married to somebody that they've met online, to, met online on Tinder, met online on Hinge, whatever these other super out of the loop 100% will fully own. I don't know what the shit is with anything for all these digital apps.
Fair.
But I'm also interested specifically to you, Matt, as a parent. I feel like when our kids are old enough to start dating or to start putting themselves out there into the world of like, this is who I am, like, please come meet me and be an equal teammate and an equal partner, whether that's in person or whether that's online dating. That's one thing that I'm already like, online dating has changed how grown adults meet and start forming intimate relationships so much. It has changed so much of how that process happens in the last 10 years that I feel like I would be completely remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge how possibly this process could play into my own children finding their life partner, their teammate, their Courtney or their Mr. Uding, or, somebody that is showing up and meeting them where they're at daily. So my question specific to you, Matt, is, do you have any specific parenting guidance of educating your daughters about online dating or putting themselves out there on the internet, or anything on that front?
No, I mean, we had I don't want to say a scare, but like a situation where somebody, said they were 16 talking to my then, I think she was 12, about to be 13, year old daughter. And I had to explain to her like, hey man, like, you don't know who this person is. And the fact that they're 16 kind of already seems a little fishy, but like the thing that you don't comprehend is this could be anybody on the other side of the screen. And it wasn't a dating site or anything, it was just like a video game chat thing. So it's like, this person could try and groom you and get the information about where you live, and then like that could be it. We could never see you again. Or, you know, I had, like I said, we had to like give her the scared straight, like, hey, talking to random strangers on the internet can be dangerous, you know, kind of conversation. And I think that when it comes to online dating, as far as like parenting advice, I don't have any, but I also have like, we don't do social media for my daughter yet, so she doesn't
Yeah.
have like, there's not like a already immersed in that world, but also she's shy and like awkward around people.
So like
So I think
general ballpark, how old is she? Is she
my daughter,
10 to 15?
my daughter is about to be 15. Yeah.
Okay. So still super relevant as an answer to this question, because as somebody who works in maybe seeing the worst of humanity in the online Facebook Messenger or, you know, online whatever warrant returns that I get that I have to process and try to build these larger cases about drug trafficking organizations or illegal firearms trafficking or whatever, I I have certain convictions about my own children and the type of online presence that they're going to have when they become 15 or younger then or whatever. For example, I am already of the opinion that I don't give a shit how many other kids or girls in their middle school that already have a phone by the time that they are in middle school. By the time that they are in 7th or 8th grade, prior to that, they will not have a phone. Period.
That's what you say now, but it's
Point
becoming
blank.
harder. Yeah, it's becoming harder to not give your kid a phone when schools aren't allowing them to contact you, especially in the event of an emergency. And that's becoming more frequent. And by the time your kids are that age, it's probably going to be even worse. So them having a phone could be the difference between you knowing that there's a school shooting happening and there's not, or that they're sick and their teacher won't let them go to the nurse. So like you say that, but like we said the same thing and we did not end up being able to follow that same trajectory that we planned, because it became paramount that she would go stay at a friend's house after school, and we had no way to get in touch with her because the parents were doing whatever they were doing, and the kids went down the street to another friend's house, which the parents okayed and they know, but we can't get a hold of her because she's not there. So then we got to wait for them to go get them, or to call that person and then call us back, or have her. There's too many intersections to pass before you end up getting to your kid. And like I said, I feel like that every parent says that, and then they realize, especially in today's world, it's a little bit harder. And that's not even talking about today's world for you. You're talking about tomorrow's world. So okay,
100%. Absolutely acknowledge where you're at. Totally acknowledge. I will also be the type of parent that even if it's 2030, 2040, depending on what age or what year it is where I let my middle schooler have a cell phone, I will still make them have a flip phone and text me T9, you know, throwback to what that type of texting was. Even that, even making them have a flip phone versus like an iPhone will protect them from the full impact of online social media, the profiles, the types of, you know, different personalities, the different type of sociological environments that they're going to be exposed to from their classmates, that kind of thing. But I also fully own and admit, Matt, 100% understand where you're coming from, where perfect example of eating my own words. When I was pregnant with my 2.5-year-old, I was like, I'm not going to be that type of parent that loses square footage in their living room to all these extra toys or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm going to have a big kid living room because I've worked so hard to have a big kid living room, and I don't want it to be totally full of toddler toys or whatever. Flash forward to when I have an actual toddler,
Hmm.
whole half of my living room is just totally full of plastic toys, toy bins, like, kitchens, cars, lawnmowers, all these other, huge toddler toys. Certain expectations that I had into parenthood and, versus where they're at now, execution wise, not the same thing. So, my husband has already had, with the type of work that I'm in, Matt, I've had conversations with him about, I am reading Facebook messages of 12 and 13-year-olds that are shooting each other over Instagram stories or Instagram beef. And my husband has said, like, I'm terrified that my kids are going to be exposed to that, or like, be a part of that. To which I tell him, and I will also tell you in court, Matt, and any of our Homes Room listeners, if you are in a position where you are worried about the type of messages that your child is getting on a social media platform, you're already above and beyond a lot of the, situations that I'm reading in hindsight after a shooting has already occurred. Not a general statement, not a complete coverall for any of that. Every rule has an exception. But the fact that you have two parents that are showing up concerned about your child's well-being, and wanting to, voicing some type of concern about their digital footprint and the things that they are exposing themselves to online, on social media in general, already puts you ahead of overwhelmingly some of the things that I see in my professional job or my professional life. But I don't know what I will tell my child come hell or high water when she says, "Hey, I met this boy online." Granted, it's going to be at least 10 years plus before I hope my 2.5-year-old's like, "Hey, I met this boy online." Give yourself some grace. Do not be afraid to Google that person's name. Do not be afraid to search that person's name in your court systems for whatever state you live in. General open source intelligence tip. But also, everything is not a threat. It's one thing that I've had to unlearn from living so much of my life in survival mode, that everything that comes your way is not an immediate threat to yourself and your personal safety. So, Matt, any tips that you have with your girls moving forward of like, hey, they're going to meet randos and they're going to have relationships, and it's going to be your choice as a parent to invite them over for dinner or ignore them, or, whatever the heck.
I mean, take it how it comes, I guess. I don't know. I don't really have any, like, I am a black kid that dated I dated a girl that wasn't from this country. I dated, Courtney. I dated, like, that's the last relationships I had. So, like, I was in the awkward situation as, like, going to meet these people who had no idea who I was. So, like, as the, like, reverse side of this, I would give the person a chance, but also, like, I don't expect my girls to, like, Lincoln isn't that kind of kid now, and I think that she's going to scare more boys away. So the ones that come to talk to her and want to be around are probably going to be like ones that I would be able to admire their toughness. And my oldest is she's an artist, and she's like kind of a gamer anime nerd. So the guys that she's gonna like, I've seen her scope out dudes in the grocery store before, and it's like the dudes that she's attracted to. There's like the like stereotypical like teenage d-bag guy, and she'll glance at them, and I think she sees it as eye candy maybe, but like the people that she genuinely talks about with like strong things, they're always people of substance. So I think she's in the right place. Not that she's gonna not get duped or not be like, I fell for the eye candy more than the substance, but I don't know. I gotta take, that's the moment in parenting that I've always been the most excited for, is taking those moments as they come and hoping that in the event that I have to put pieces back together, I put them back together with gold. I don't put them back together with rust. So I don't know.
I think one thing that perhaps Matt and I can both appreciate is that thank God we did not have to meet our significant others in a completely digital online dating age.
I think it's interesting because it adds another context of what's going on. Like I genuinely think about that often, is like meeting somebody and knowing you click because you can talk. I think there's a lot of people that I talk to more on social media than I do in person, and I'm always interested in like how that plays and whether our relationship would be as strong if we saw each other every day versus if we just talked on social media, sending each other reels or gifs or whatever thing, random posts, and that could be a thing that like somebody with anxiety could have a better relationship because they don't have to see somebody face to face, or vice versa, where somebody could have a better relationship because it started out where I know that like we enjoy the same things and I don't feel weird telling you about it. So that layer of conversation is already like there because we did it on an online platform first. So like we've already had these weird conversations because I didn't have to look you in the eye to have them. So I don't know. I think there's something to be said. Like I said before, though, and all those stories I've heard are all like bad stories. So it seems like they get it wrong more than they get it right. But at the same time, we're probably not hearing about the we got it right stories because those are just the people you're chilling with when you go out and they're boyfriend and girlfriend or person and person, whatever it ends up being. So I don't know.
So let me put this out here for our Homes Room listeners. If you are somebody that has put yourself out there on dating websites or just on social media in general, and you have had a completely different experience than all the fears that two millennial age parents have voiced in this specific episode, if you've had a positive experience with online dating, or you are somebody that can give a little bit of insight into this topic of conversation, please reach out. Please send either Matt or myself a DM on Instagram, or give some feedback on our episodes on whatever platform you are listening to this episode on, whatever podcast platform, whatever. I am honestly, Matt, I'm super interested on anybody that's going to give a little bit of a varying perspective on this topic of conversation, only because, I wanted to have this be an open topic of conversation between the two of us, while also owning that you and I both have not been in the dating pool where, my husband and I have had several conversations where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I am not out and about on dating apps, because I would not, it seems like a scarier world to put yourself out there on the internet to find a teammate and find a partner. So,
I mean, also you got to think about that. The way, like, your perspective on what you're looking for is your perspective on what you're looking for. So like, maybe that might not be the right place for you, but for somebody else, like, it might be more conducive to what they're looking for. So it's just, I mean, it's give and take. I don't know. But again, life is so interesting in the simple fact that different strokes for different folks. And when it comes to, you know, like me, if I had to online date, I would not be able to put enough effort into it because I wouldn't care that much. So like, if you want to talk to me, cool. If you don't want to talk to me, also cool, because I'm going to be over here doing the thing I'm doing anyway, regardless of whether you're out here. And seeing all of the apps now that are coming out that are more geared towards women being able to initiate conversations, I think that that's super interesting, because it not only like does it kind of block the male ego thing a little bit, but also it forces the conversation to be like two-sided and not just, hey, I saw your picture and I thought you were pretty and I want to talk to you, because you don't know what else to say. Now it's a whole like, how are, you know, the women initiating these conversations? Are you saying the same thing and now realizing how awkward it is to start that conversation? So like maybe giving people a little bit more credit, more, you know, like grace when it comes to that. I don't know, either way. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't done it. We've been together for 17 years, I think, something like that. So like,
love you, Court. Shout out, babes. We love you. We love you, Court. She's awesome.
I didn't know if you had something else to say. Like
no,
you
that's
said,
it.
like,
we love you, Court.
Well, there you
Shout
go.
out.
Perfect way to end. Love you. Bye.
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.